The ship was falling too fast. Warning lights flashed across the cockpit as the engine failed again. Smoke filled the air, and the control panel stopped responding. Outside the window, tall mountains rushed closer every second. Ethan gripped the controls tightly, trying to keep the ship steady. "Come on, just hold together," he whispered. The navigation system showed nothing but empty land. No cities, no signals, no safe landing zones. This planet was supposed to be uninhabited. Then the scanner showed something strange. A valley appeared between the mountains, hidden under thick clouds. The shape looked unnatural, almost like the land itself was hiding it. Ethan didn't have time to question it. He forced the ship downward. The impact shook everything. Metal screamed as the ship slid across grass and dirt before finally stopping near the center of the valley. Silence followed. For a moment, Ethan just sat there, breathing heavily. Alive. "That was too close," he muttered. He grabbed his emergency pack and stepped outside. Cool air touched his face. The valley was quiet. Too quiet. Tall green grass moved slowly in the wind. A river flowed nearby, clear and calm. The mountains around the valley were incredibly high, forming a perfect circle. From above, the place would be almost impossible to see. It felt hidden, protected. Ethan checked his communicator. No signal. The mountains blocked everything. "Great," he sighed. Completely alone. He began walking away from the ship, looking for higher ground. That was when he noticed the footprints. They were enormous. Each one was deeper than his entire foot, pressed into the soil as if something incredibly heavy had walked through the valley. Fresh marks. Ethan's stomach tightened. "This planet isn't empty," he whispered. A deep sound echoed behind him. A footstep, then another. The ground trembled slightly with each movement. Ethan slowly turned around. At first, he saw only shadows moving between the trees. Then a figure stepped into the open. She was enormous, at least 4 times his height. A woman, but clearly not human. Her armor looked ancient, made from metal and stone mixed together. Long dark hair moved in the wind, and her eyes watched him carefully. Before Ethan could react, more figures appeared. Giant women surrounded him from every direction. Some carried large spears. Others held strange energy weapons. None of them attacked, but none of them looked friendly either. Ethan slowly raised his hands. "I'm not here to fight," he said, his voice small compared to them. The tallest giant stepped forward. She looked older than the others, her expression calm but serious. A leader. She studied Ethan like he was something unexpected or something familiar. The other giants whispered among themselves in a language he didn't understand. Some sounded shocked. Others sounded afraid. The leader raised her hand, and the whispers stopped instantly. She knelt slightly, bringing her face closer to Ethan's level. Even then, she towered above him. "You fell from the sky," she said slowly, her voice deep but clear. Ethan blinked in surprise. "You speak my language?" "We learned long ago," she replied. Her eyes searched his face carefully, as if confirming something important. Then she said words that made Ethan's heart skip. The prophecy was true. Ethan frowned. What prophecy? The giants around him stepped back, giving space between him and their leader. Their expressions changed from suspicion to something else. Hope. The leader stood tall again and looked down at him. "For generations, we waited," she said, "for the small outsider who would arrive from beyond the mountains." Ethan shook his head, confused. "You've got the wrong person. I just crashed here." But the leader did not smile. "Our people are dying," she said quietly. "Our numbers fall every year. Our strength no longer saves us." The wind moved through the valley, carrying an uneasy silence. She lowered her gaze to meet his again. "And you," she said, "are the key to saving our race." Ethan stared at her, unable to speak. He had survived a crash on an unknown planet, and somehow, without understanding why, he had landed in the one place where an entire civilization believed he was their last hope. Behind the giants, the mountains seemed taller now, closing the valley like walls. And for the first time, Ethan realized something unsettling. This valley was not just hidden from the world. It was hiding something from the world as well. Ethan did not know if he was a guest or a prisoner. The giant women walked beside him as they moved deeper into the valley. None of them touched him, but their presence alone made escape impossible. Every step they took shook the ground slightly, reminding him how small he really was. The valley opened into something he did not expect. A city. Massive stone structures rose from the earth, shaped into towers and bridges built for beings far larger than humans. Water flowed through wide canals, and glowing crystals lit the streets with soft blue light. The place looked ancient but still alive. Yet something felt wrong. The city was too quiet. Few giants walked the streets. Many buildings stood empty. Some areas looked abandoned, slowly being reclaimed by nature. The leader noticed Ethan looking around. "You see it," she said. Ethan nodded. "There aren't many of you." Her expression grew heavy. Once this valley was full of life. Our people filled every tower. Our voices filled the air. She paused. "Now, each year, there are fewer of us." They entered a large hall at the center of the city. Symbols covered the walls, showing giants standing beside stars and planets. Old victories, old pride. At the far end of the hall stood a glowing table filled with moving images, maps, energy readings, and biological scans. "Our problem is not war," the leader explained. "Not disease, not hunger." Ethan studied the displays. Many systems were failing. Energy levels unstable. Birth records low. "You're slowly dying," he said quietly. The leader nodded once. "Our children are fewer. Our bodies grow weaker with each generation. We have tried everything our knowledge allows." Several giant warriors watched Ethan closely. Some clearly did not like him being there. One stepped forward. Her voice was sharp. "Why should a human help us? Your kind destroys what it touches." Ethan stayed calm. He had heard that tone before, fear hiding behind anger. "I don't even know how to help yet," he admitted, "but I can try to understand." The leader raised her hand, stopping further argument. She activated another image above the table. An ancient recording appeared, old symbols, showing a small figure standing among giants. "For centuries," she said, "our records spoke of small outsider. One who would arrive when our strength failed. One who would show us how to survive." Ethan frowned. "You think that's me?" "You arrived when hope was nearly gone," she replied. "That is not coincidence." Ethan was not sure what to say. He was a pilot, not a scientist or a hero. "I think you're looking at this the wrong way," he said slowly. "Maybe the answer isn't about strength." The giants exchanged uncertain looks. Strength was everything to them. Before anyone could respond, a loud alarm echoed through the hall. Red light replaced the calm blue glow. Symbols flashed rapidly across the displays. A giant technician rushed forward. Movement detected beyond the mountains. The room became tense instantly. The leader's expression hardened. "Impossible. No one finds this valley." Ethan looked at the screen. Small flying objects moved near the mountain edge. Scanning patterns. "Drones. They're searching," Ethan said. "And they're getting closer." The warriors grabbed their weapons. Fear spread through the room, though none spoke it aloud. The leader turned back to Ethan. "You see now why we waited for the prophecy," she said quietly. "Our strength cannot stop everything." Ethan watched the moving signals carefully. The drones were not attacking yet. They were observing, learning. Someone out there was looking for the giants. And if they found the valley, hiding would no longer be possible. The leader stepped closer to Ethan, her voice lower now. "If you truly are the key," she said, "you must find the answer quickly." Outside, the peaceful valley no longer felt safe. High above the mountains, unseen eyes were watching. And for the first time, Ethan understood the real danger. He had not just crashed into a hidden civilization. He had led something dangerous straight to it. The valley was no longer peaceful. From the top of the city towers, giant watchers stared toward the mountains. Smoke signals rose from guard posts, and warriors moved through the streets preparing for defense. The quiet fear that lived inside the city was now visible to everyone. Ethan stood beside the leader, watching the moving signals on the large display table. The enemy drones circled the outer mountains again and again, searching for an entrance. They are patient, the leader said. They do not attack yet. They don't need to, Ethan replied. They're learning first. The leader looked at him. You speak as if you know them. Ethan shook his head. I don't. But humans do this too. We study before we fight. The giants were strong, but Ethan could already see the problem. Every defense they prepared was built for direct battle. Large weapons, heavy armor, straight attacks. Everything depended on strength. Can I see your energy systems? Ethan asked. Some warriors immediately objected. A human should not see our core systems, one said angrily. But the leader raised her hand. Let him look. They brought Ethan deep beneath the city, into a massive chamber glowing with blue light. At the center stood a huge energy core, taller than any building he had seen. Energy flowed through it like liquid light, but the system flickered unevenly. Ethan walked around it slowly, studying the controls. This isn't broken, he said after a moment. The engineers looked confused. Energy loss continues every cycle, one replied. Output decreases every year. Ethan nodded. Because you're forcing it to run at full power all the time. The giants exchanged looks. That was how it had always worked. You built this for war, Ethan continued. Maximum power, maximum output. But now you're not expanding anymore. You're surviving. The leader stepped closer. Explain. In human cities, Ethan said, we don't run everything at full strength. We adjust. Small systems. Shared energy. Less waste. The idea sounded simple. Too simple. But the giants had never needed efficiency before. Hours passed as Ethan worked with the engineers. They adjusted energy flow, shutting down and used sectors, redirecting power into smaller networks instead of one massive stream. The core stabilized. The flickering stopped. For the first time in years, the energy readings rose instead of falling. Silence filled the chamber. One of the engineers spoke softly. This should not work. Ethan smiled slightly. Sometimes small changes matter more than big ones. Word spread quickly through the city. The human had done something their greatest minds could not. Not with strength, but with a different way of thinking. For the first time, some giants looked at Ethan with respect. But the moment did not last. Alarms suddenly screamed through the chamber. A soldier's voice echoed through the communication system. Enemy drones have entered the valley. The leader's expression hardened instantly. Ow. They found a narrow pass through the eastern mountains. Ethan's stomach dropped. The drones must have followed the crash trail of his ship. Outside, loud explosions echoed as defense towers fired. Through the open ceiling of the chamber, dark shapes could be seen moving in the sky. Small, fast machines scanning and attacking anything that moved. The giants rushed toward battle positions. Ethan followed, his heart racing. From the city walls, he watched as the drones avoided direct attacks, striking supply lines and power points instead. They're not trying to win, Ethan said urgently. They're marking targets. The leader understood immediately. They're preparing for a larger attack. Above the valley, one drone stopped moving. Its red eye glowed brighter as it scanned the city below. Then it transmitted a signal into space. The message was clear. The hidden valley was no longer hidden. The leader looked down at Ethan, her voice calm but heavy. The enemy knows we are here now. Ethan watched the sky, realizing the truth at the same time. The real battle had not started yet, and when it did, strength alone would not save the giants. This time, survival would depend on something they had never trusted before. A human answer. The attack came at sunrise. Dark ships appeared above the mountains, silent at first, blocking the light as they moved into position. The valley that once felt hidden now looked trapped. Giant defense towers powered on, sending beams of energy into the sky. The battle began instantly. Explosions echoed across the valley as enemy ships fired from far above. The giants answered with powerful weapons, but their attacks were slow. The enemy ships moved quickly, avoiding direct hits. Ethan watched from the city wall beside the leader. He could already see the problem. They're not fighting you head-on, he said. They're forcing you to waste energy. Below them, Giant warriors charged toward landing zones where enemy machines dropped from the sky. The giants were strong. Every strike destroyed enemy units easily. But more machines kept coming. They want you tired, Ethan continued. They win if you keep fighting like this. The leader's jaw tightened. Giants did not like changing their way of battle. Strength had always been enough before. Another explosion shook the ground. A defense tower collapsed, sending dust into the air. Civilians began moving toward underground shelters. "We cannot keep losing ground," one commander said. Ethan looked across the valley. The mountains, the narrow passes, the rivers. Suddenly he saw something the giants did not. "You're defending everywhere," he said. "That's the mistake." The leader turned to him. "What do you suggest?" "Stop trying to be stronger than them," Ethan replied. "Make them fight where you want." The idea sounded strange to the warriors around him. Giants had never needed traps or strategy like this. But the leader remembered the energy core, the simple solution that worked. She made her decision. "All outer units fall back," she ordered. "Defend only the central valley." Some warriors hesitated, but the command was clear. As giant forces pulled back, enemy machines followed, moving deeper into the valley. Exactly as Ethan expected. He pointed toward the narrow canyon near the river. "There," he said. "Force them through one path." Engineers quickly redirected power to hidden defense lines. When the enemy entered the canyon, the giants attacked together instead of separately. The effect was immediate. Enemy units lost their speed advantage. Giant warriors destroyed them one by one. For the first time, the attack slowed. Hope spread through the defenders. But victory came with a cost. During the fighting, one enemy ship broke through and crashed near a civilian shelter. Fire spread quickly. Panic followed. Ethan ran without thinking. Inside the burning area, several young giants were trapped under fallen stone. Smoke filled the air, making it hard to breathe. Ethan was small enough to move through gaps the giants could not reach. He pulled one child free, then another, coughing as heat burned his lungs. Outside, the leaders saw him disappear into the flames. "Stop him," one warrior shouted. "He will die." But Ethan did not stop until the last child was safe. As he stepped out, the structure behind him collapsed, sending fire into the sky. The shock wave threw him to the ground. For a moment, he did not move. The leader reached him first. She knelt beside him carefully. Ethan opened his eyes slowly, exhausted but alive. "You risk your life for ours again," she said quietly. Ethan gave a weak smile. "Someone had to." The leader looked around at her people, giants who were stronger than mountains, yet saved by someone smaller than all of them. In that moment, something changed in her understanding. Strength alone did not win wars. Above them, the remaining enemy ships began retreating. The attack had failed, but the danger was not gone. This had only been a test. The leader helped Ethan stand and looked toward the dark sky. "They will return," she said. Ethan nodded. "Yeah, but next time, you won't fight alone." The leader looked at him again, no longer seeing a stranger or a prophecy. She saw an ally, and for the first time, the giants understood the truth. They did not need a human because he was strong. They needed him because he showed them how to survive. The valley slowly became quiet again. Smoke faded into the morning sky, and the sound of battle disappeared. Giant warriors repaired broken towers, while engineers restored damaged systems. The enemy ships had retreated, but everyone knew they would return. This time, they would come with full force. Ethan stood on a high cliff overlooking the valley. From there, he could see the entire city, the rivers, the towers, and the people moving below. Only days ago, he had crashed here by accident. Now an entire race believed he was their last hope. He still was not sure why. The leader approached quietly, her shadow falling beside him. She looked tired, but her eyes were different now. The doubt and suspicion were gone. "You changed the outcome of the battle," she said. Ethan shook his head. "Your people did that. I just helped a little." She watched the valley for a moment before speaking again. "For generations, we believed strength was survival. When our strength failed, we believed our end had come." She looked down at him. "But you showed us something else." Below them, giants and humans worked side by side. Repairs moved faster now. Ideas were shared. Problems solved together instead of alone. Ethan smiled slightly. Humans survive because we adapt. We don't always win by being stronger. The leader nodded slowly. She finally understood what the prophecy meant. Not a savior. A change. Suddenly, warning alarms echoed again across the valley. This time louder than before. Both of them looked toward the sky. A massive fleet appeared beyond the mountains, far larger than the first attack. Enemy ships filled the horizon like a moving storm. The final battle had arrived. Giant warriors prepared for war, but this time their formation was different. Defensive lines were tighter. Energy systems balanced instead of overloaded. Traps and narrow paths were already prepared. Human strategy and giant strength together. The battle lasted for hours. Enemy ships pushed into the valley, but they no longer found easy targets. Giants fought with patience instead of anger. They waited, moved together, and struck only when it mattered. Ethan worked with engineers, directing power and communication between defense lines. He was not the strongest fighter, but without coordination, the defense would fail. At the center of the battle, the leader faced the enemy commander, a massive machine designed only for destruction. The fight was brutal. The machine was faster than any giant, adapting to every attack. But this time, the giants were not alone. Following Ethan's plan, warriors forced the machine into a narrow canyon where its speed meant nothing. Surrounded and cut off from support, it finally fell. When the enemy flagship retreated, the remaining ships followed. The valley was safe. For the first time in many years, silence returned without fear. Later, a great gathering was called in the center of the city. All giants stood together, watching as Ethan stepped forward. He felt uncomfortable with the attention, but the leader raised her hand for silence. Our record spoke of a key, she said. We believed it meant strength. A warrior. A savior. She looked down at Ethan. We were wrong. The crowd listened carefully. The key was change, she continued. The ability to learn, to adapt, and to survive together. She turned to her people. From this day forward, the valley will no longer hide from the universe. We will live, learn, and grow again alongside humanity. A deep sound of agreement spread through the giants. Ethan exhaled slowly, finally understanding why he had been brought here. Not to save them alone, but to help them see a new way forward. As the sun set behind the mountains, the valley no longer felt like a prison. It felt like a beginning. The giants were stronger than mountains, but it was the smallest among them who showed them how to survive.